Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy D Wayne bring you yet another YouTube video at this time. So, we are going to be talking Fire Kings in this discussion today. Excuse me. Now, you guys already know we've got a new structure deck with the Fire Kings called Onslaught of the Fire Kings. So, obviously, it got some pretty decent stuff out of there. It definitely does a lot for the deck and making it more consistent and pretty much and more explosive with its players. So this is a deck profile that I've been testing. So far, it's definitely been pretty interesting in how it works. It has some inherent weaknesses, of course, but as far as what the deck does, it does pretty well in terms of swarming and the consistency of the deck. Now it's pretty much off the charts because the deck has three inherent searchers in Barong, Fire King Ponyx, which I'll discuss later, and of course Fire King Island, which also searches. All right, so of course, let's get into the new cards. Let's start off with a Sacred Fire King Garunix. Now, this is the one of two boss monsters coming out of the structure deck. So, the effect reads: if monsters that was originally fired is destroyed by battle of card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when a monster is destroyed, or hand if not. If this card was normal, if this card is normal or special summon, you can destroy one fire beast, beast warrior, or rather one fire beast, beast warrior, or winged beast monster from your hand, deck, or face up on a field except a copy of itself. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's attack it had there until the end of this turn. And of course, this effect is, well, each effect is 100 once per turn. So, first boss monster definitely has some solid effects. The ease of summon is really good because it's destroyed by battle or card effect when most of the other ones will special summon itself when something is destroyed by card effect. So if the battle thing gives it definitely a leg up on all the other Fire King cards. Uh, one interaction here is with the legendary Ponix. You can, well, it doesn't matter which Fire King you may have on the field. You can use Fire King Island to destroy whatever Fire King you happen to have on the field or in the hand. And you can search this out. And since the effects are simultaneous, Garunis will actually see the card being destroyed, and then it will special summon itself to the field. And then, of course, you'll get this effect when special summon to destroy a Fire King monster in your Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster. So that's a little something for you guys there. Uh, as far as destroying, of course, you have a myriad of different effects you can set off with Grunix when you send to the graveyard. I won't talk about the new stuff yet, but Advara will get you a special summon of a fighting monster from your graveyard with its effects negated. Baron will get you a search during the next standby phase, and Grunix, of course, will come back during the next standby phase, destroying all monsters on the field. All right, so this card is definitely pretty solid. Ease of summon, solid effect that triggers all of your Fire King effects. All right, so next we have a Fire King High Avatar Karen. Beast, level 8, 2400 attack, 1200 defense. During the main phase, if this card is in your hand, quick effect, you can destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face up on the field, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Fire King monster from your hand or graveyard, except another copy of itself. Then you can destroy one card on the field, and each effect is a hard once per turn. So this is also pretty solid to put presence on board during your opponent's turn. Nice, somewhat solid 2400 attack. It would have been nice if it was a little bit stronger, maybe 25 or 26 maybe, but 24 is okay. Um, so it destroys your fire monsters, of course, proccing all of the aforementioned effects, which is really solid. And when you're on defense, you can actually use this to block an attack or your opponents attack you with weaker monsters, you can summon this, and they would have to rethink what they're doing. All right, so that's that. Next new card is Fire King Avatar Hanuman. Level 4, 1600 attack, 200 defense. The effect reads: if a face-up Fire King monster control is destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is pretty standard among the Fire King Avatar monsters. Its unique effect: when a spell, trap, card, or effect is activated while a monster is on the field. Quick effect: you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face up on your field. Each effect is hard once per turn. So this works in tandem with Fire King Avatar Avara, which does the same thing as Special Summon itself, but it negates a monster effect and destroys one of fire monster from your hand or face up on your field. So this is actually pretty good. I have an example game that I'll show you guys later where I pretty much checkmated my opponent while having this card on the field. So yeah, so Hanuman definitely good to fix, kind of encompass all of what deck is trying to do. It gives you some negation for spells and traps because we've only covered monsters with a far before, so now we can cover spells and traps. All right, so next new card is Legendary Fire King Ponix Wing Beast, level 1, 500 and 200 defense. Effect reads: when a monster that was already fired is activated by destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card is normal or special summon. You can add one Fire King spell or trap from your deck to your hand. During the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand, and each effect is a hard once per turn. So this is another searcher to add on to the other two that I mentioned before. Will get you a spell, a trap from your deck to your hand, and it can recur itself during the standby phase. So you'll get a constant searching of your Fire King spells and traps, which is really solid. It's definitely this card pretty much becomes one of your best starters for the deck. And of course, if it gets hit by Ash Veiler or whatever the case may be, it would be good if you had of course, if you had Fire King Island along with the Ponix, you can destroy the Ponix and get you another search anyway of a Fire King monster. All right, definitely a solid card indeed. All right, so the next new card is a Fire King Sacred Emulation. This is a quick play spell that reads: target the same number of Fire King monsters you control and cause your opponent controls, destroy them. If a Fire King card you control is destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Only use one effect per turn, and only once that turn. So you have to essentially pick which one you want to do. So this is pretty solid, of course. You have multiple with this deck's ability to swarm, you'll definitely have more than one Fire King out at the time. The chances are high that you'll have multiple Fire Kings out. You can use this, pop more than one of your opponent's cards, and trigger off the destruction effects of any of your Fire King cards you happen to have on a field at the time. And the second effect allows you to protect your monsters from being destroyed by banishing itself instead. So definitely solid. Definitely solid. I like it as a two of. You can definitely search it out with Ponix, of course. You can search it with Barone. Being able to, clear your opponent's resources, monsters, or spell and traps. So it's not specific on what cards are destroyed. So you have a wide range of options there. All right, so nextly we have Sanctuary of the Fire Kings. Now this is a continuous spell. This card reads: when this card is activated, you can place one Fire King Island from your deck face up on your field zone. Once per turn, if a card is in your field zone, will be destroyed by card effect. You can destroy one fire monster from your hand or face up in your field instead. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can immediately, after this effect resolves, XZ summon one Fire XZ monster using only Fire King monster you control as material. You only activate one Sanctuary of Fire Kings per turn. So of course we got the new Fire King Z, Runix Eternity. So this will allow you to do your XZ summoning on your opponent's turn. And I'll explain why that's important when I get to the effect of this. Otherwise, it's pretty good as it sets your Fire King Island directly from the deck instead of searching it out, which means it's immune to Ash and all that good stuff. And it also protects your Fire King Islands from being destroyed, as when it's destroyed, you have to destroy all the monsters you control. So that's pretty solid there. All right, so next new card. The last one before the extra deck is a Solitary Strike of the Fire Kings. Now, this is a normal trap that reads you can special summon one Fire Beast Warrior, and one Fire Wing Beast monster, one each from your hand, deck, or graveyard. But negate their effects, also destroy them during the end phase. You can banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when your Fire King monsters is normal or special summon. You can only use each effect once per turn. So both effects are hard once per turn. So this is good in a I would say mid to late game. When you find your back to the wall, you can special summon three monsters to the field. You could use it as a defensive or offensive, of course. So, and they destroy themselves during the end phase, which will obviously trigger off their effects. The second effect that banishes itself to protect your monsters when they're summoned. Your opponent can't respond to them. So I guess random stuff like you protect it from a solemn strike, or maybe Torrential Tribute, or anything they might want to activate when your monsters are summoned. They can't even activate anything, so your monsters will essentially hit the field successfully. So honestly, that's never really been a thing. So the effect is not as important as you might think it is. Otherwise, the first effect is actually pretty solid, putting three solid bodies on a board for whatever it is you want to do with them. So you can put the two level 8s on board along with whatever else you may have at the time. You can use the two level 8s to XZ into this, or if you ran some link options, because it doesn't restrict what you can summon from the extra deck or anything like that. So you can essentially use three monsters for whatever it is you want to use them for. All right, so that's probably what makes the first effect so solid, and that it isn't restrictive in what you can do with the monsters you summon. All right, so that's that. Now, lastly, we have Runix Eternity, Hyung of the Fire Kings. Now, this is the XYZ boss monster that is 3,000 attack. It's a pyro instead of a wing beast. That's different. So it requires two level 8 monsters, and its effect reads if this card is exiled summoned, you can destroy all other monsters on the field. You can detach one material from this card, then target one spell or trap on the field and destroy it. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack. If this card is destroyed while it has material, you can special summon Fire King monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card has. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this card is definitely solid as well. As when combined with the Sanctuary of the Fire King, you can essentially dark hole on your opponent's turn. Or obviously, if you summon it on your own turn, the same thing happens. Um, Detaching the material to destroy a spell or trap on the field is not bad at all. So you can essentially clear monsters and then clear a spell or trap on your opponent controls as well. And the big effect is when it's destroyed while it has materials, you can special summon number of Fire Kings up to the materials it had. So in which case the summon requirement is 2 plus, meaning you can have multiple level 8s on him. You can have maybe two Sacred King Phoenix or in a Garunix, or any combination of 2 plus level 8s. You'll be able to summon all of them, including any other Fire Kings you may have in the graveyard at the time of this card's destruction. So it's not just limited to the materials it used. You can summon other Fire King monsters um, from your graveyard as well, including a copy of it, including himself. He can special summon himself back, which is pretty busted in itself. So yeah, so there's definitely a lot of implications there, making it an overall solid card. All right, so thoughts on the deck because I had some time to play test. All right, where do I begin with this? It loses hard to Mikanko. I had a game with Mikanko and it just hard counters this deck because you can't destroy them. Most of the Mechanical equipped cards prevent their monsters from being destroyed. Nextly, you can't attack into the monsters because they do reflect damage on you. The only saving grace I would say this has if you use spell and trap removal to damn you have to use a combination of spell and trap removal and negating the effects outright in order to really do any real damage to the mechanical strategy. So you have to negate one of their effects. Um, that will prevent the reflect damage, and you'd have to destroy the equipped cards that the mechanical has on them in order for you to really attack and do any real damage. But with how consistent that deck it is in particular, and all monsters literally have these same effects attached to them. It's like facing a magic specter for the most part, because all of them have the same effects attached to them. All right, next, also I faced a U Bell player. It's essentially the same concept because the U Bells can if you destroy the U Bells, they're gonna special summon another one from the hand from the deck or graveyard or whatever. So, and it's the same thing with the Conquest. You attack into it and you take the reflect damage as well. So yeah, it has two troubling matchups in those regards. Otherwise, the consistency of the deck was probably the thing that impressed me the most about this deck because you can go like shoot like +3, +4, depending on the game state. Because all of the searches you have, man, you have three primary searches, of course, the Parking Island, Ponix, and Barone, and of course the field presence that it generates through the Grunix Eternity, the Kirin special summons from the graveyard, the Fire King Grunix special summons from the hand or graveyard, and the effects of the normal avatars that special summon themselves when a monster is destroyed, fighting or monster is destroyed by card effects. It has, a lot of swarm ability. It can deal with monsters that can be destroyed by card effects fairly well. Sacred King Garunix deals with higher attack monsters by sending, cards like Kirin or Garunix or even Phoenix and Nephthys, to the graveyard to gain like half the attack. So it's gaining like, since this is 24, it'll gain like 12. This is 27, so it'll gain like 1350. So, it'll be able to do well against high attacking monsters, but it just can't do well against monsters that can't be destroyed or targeted or anything like that. So, yeah, those are some of the cards' weaknesses and the deck's weaknesses. And of course, choke points. If you hit Ponix when you're trying to start your plays off, because you can go Ponix, search for activate Sanctuary, search, set your, activate your Fire King, put it on the field spell, use Fire King, destroy Ponix, search for your Sacred Fire King Grunix. Grunix sees the destruction and it'll special summon itself. Activate Spectre Special Summon and dump whatever Fire King monster or Fire monster you want to use for any specific effects. So that's pretty much a nice combo starter. If it doesn't get interrupted, you have some pretty good presence on board and you have some consistency in your plays. All right, so with that, those are my thoughts so far. So I'm gonna go into an example game. Let's go ahead and get into that right now. All right, so here we are. We are playing. We're going to be playing against Red Eyes for this example duel. Pretty much, this will show you the sort of the resiliency of the deck and its ability to play through, interruptions and even protections from, destruction of card effects. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. All right, activate Fire King Island, destroy, search. Like I said, remember the effects are simultaneous, so Hyrunic saw the destruction of the Kirin and activated the special summon itself. All right, dump the Barong for search. So of course they're in the standby. I'll get the search off Barong. I search for Hinuman. Hona's doing the red play. I stopped this because I guess I didn't want to see the Lord of Red get summoned onto the field. So I stopped it there with the judgment. Activates. All right, he go ahead and summon his monster, then he summons Heavenly Seal. So I have to essentially try to play around this Heavenly Seal. Because I was thinking, if I activate this, I could have baited it, because I'm thinking about this now. I could have activated this, baited this out, put this back into the hand. Well, you're going to attempt to. I could have, well, let's see what I ultimately end up doing. All right, I go into battle phase, because I knew that was going to happen. He puts it back since something was destroyed. A little special summon. I attack. That's going to get its effect along with the chain. It pops this. And then we into battle. Finish it up. Alright, because I didn't want him popping my card, so I just went ahead and negated it again. Negated it. Yeah, I negated that. Send the Karen. You see that? That's important there. Negated the spell and destroyed the Karen, and the Karen activated along with the Sacred Fire King Phoenix, and you set up a chain link there to, summon two monsters to the field. Oh yeah, I forgot about that other effect. When you special summon off a Karen's effect, you can pop a card on the field as well, so that's an important thing to know as well. All right, so what I did there, I used the Sacred Fire King Grunix to send the High Avatar Grunix to the graveyard so that we can insist on destroying his monsters. Just keep his monsters off the field so that I can do my plays. Of course, this is where it's important as well because he has the Turn of the Dragon Laws. He has another one in here too. Yeah, he has two of them. So I'm pretty much going to be working through both Turn of the Dragon Laws and then attack swinging in for damage as well. And there's the second one. Send Karen Pop summons. Clears field again. Fire King destroys. That's important. Because I get Fire King destroys the Garunix Eternity. I get a search. And the Eternity, if activates in grave, is going to give me two more monsters. And then I go ahead and attack for damage. Yep, that comes back into my hand every turn. That's also important. To have consistent, recursion and searchability every turn is very important for the deck, of course. Okay, he could have essentially killed me here, but luckily for me, I had emulation in the graveyard, so that essentially saved me from losing here. Dragoons come back. Of course, the dragoons can't be destroyed. All right, see, there you go. Well, what happened here was I won by timeout, right? He pretty much just waited the entire. He just let the entire timer go out here, because what was going to happen is if he negated the high the Sacred King Garunix from summoning to the field, I was going to negate it with Alvarta and destroy the Barong in my hand. And when the Avatar would have been summoned onto the field, I would have, sent something that put me at a higher enough, you know, attack power to attack over his Dragoon. I did something a little cheeky in the comments. I typed in checkmate in the comments because I knew I was going to win this one. All right, so those are my thoughts overall. You know, let you guys see the deck in action. Of course, let me know what you guys think of the new Fire King support in the comments, and I will leave that at that. So I'll be bringing you guys more videos in the meantime. But until then, paces. You too.